Hello, welcome to the ultimate Minecraft 1.8 PvP guide. From basic mechanics like W tapping to more advanced mechanics like hit selecting, I'll try my best to cover every single thing you need to know about 1.8 Minecraft PvP. Before we begin, let me go over some quick qualifications. My old account is level 179, Bedwars star 136, Skywars star 13, has 9,000 duels wins, and that account got stolen, so maybe I'm a little stupid. I'm also nowhere near the best player in the world, so make sure to comment about anything I missed. You can get good with any combination of settings, but here are some things I highly recommend in order to make your life 10 times easier and give you a higher skill cap. Use a mod client, which gives you tons of PvP mods. I personally use Lunar client, but you can also use Badlion, Feather, and Labby mod. Use toggle sprint, almost every PvP player uses this. Change your keybinds for inventory items, sword, and projectiles. I personally use caps lock as sword, mouse button 4 for rod, F for 4, B for 5, Z for 6, G for 8, X for 9, C for zoom, and mouse button 5 for sprinting. Change your FOV from anywhere from 80 to 105. I personally use 87, but most people use like 90. Also get a PvP texture pack to increase FPS. In order to win in Minecraft PvP, there are two essential things to understand: momentum and height advantage. Everything in this guide is basically built off of these fundamentals. You can gain a momentum advantage by slowing the opponent down and being faster than the opponent. Height advantage is gained by being lower than the opponent. Your reach is based off of your head height, so even being a block lower than your opponent can win you a fight. The most basic mechanic in PvP is trading. If both players hit each other at the same time and are constantly holding W, unless there's a giant clicks per second difference which reduces KB, there are also a couple advanced mechanics to break away from a trade and start a combo. If you're a beginner, I recommend skipping this part and coming back later. In a trade, simply jump after you get a hit. Instead of sending you up on the next hit, it sends you down, which gives you a height advantage. You have to practice this a lot in order to get it perfect, and can go horribly wrong if it's timed incorrectly. An add-on to jump resetting will be covered in the sprinting section called 7 tapping. Normally, both players are spam clicking when running at each other. Instead, you let them get the first hit and hit them while you are falling. This actually gives you a height advantage. To know you are doing this right, you want to see critical particles while you are falling. You also may want a W tap depending on how high the CPS and the ping of the other player is. This can go very wrong if it's timed incorrectly, which is why it's pretty advanced. This is also what most sumo players use to start combos. I will cover different strafe patterns and how to strafe later in the video, but strafing can cause the opponent to miss a trade, which gives you momentum and a height advantage. It's important to identify what exactly is a combo in Minecraft. I think of a combo as a height and momentum advantage, where you can get a hit on the opponent, but the opponent can't hit you. I cover how to combo in the next section, but it is important how to understand how to start one first. The most common way to stop a person from moving is with projectiles. Some of the most common projectiles include fishing rod, eggs, snowballs, and a bow. Some other ways to slow a person's movement is with water, lava, and block. The timing for placing blocks is pretty precise and requires good aim, but can give you a huge advantage in Bedwars, which doesn't have any projectiles unless you're a nerd. Regardless, all these ways instantly give you a momentum and height advantage. The way you want to use projectiles in PvP is to get a hit with a projectile, hit them or combo them, and repeat the cycle. You always want to get the last hit with a projectile. Just remember to space correctly to where they can't hit you. This can lead to long rod trades with no damage. Just be patient. You can also rod the opponent twice or 3 times before hitting them to reduce their movement even more. This only works with a fishing rod, but if you hit someone with the fishing rod, don't pull the fishing rod back, switch to your sword and get a crit on them. You will do 200% damage instead of the normal 150 you would get from a crit. Learning how to jump combo can be a huge help in doing this consistently, which will be covered later in the video. You can rod infinitely if you click the rod, then switch back instantly to your sword without pulling the rod back in. By strafing in unexpected ways, you can dodge projectiles and get free hits on the opponent. Keep in mind the opponent can stall you forever just by spamming projectiles and running away. Possesses. Other ways to get a combo are strafing, jump resetting, and hit selecting, which I covered in the last section. If you block right before you hit your opponent, it looks like you're hitting the opponent further from where you actually are. If done correctly, it will give you the first hit most of the time, but it is extremely hard to learn, since it is a 1.7 tactic that kinda works on 1.8. Now for the bread and butter of Minecraft PvP. Sprint resetting. Some aspects you have to consider are spacing, ping, and CPS of the other player. You gradually do less KB if you don't sprint reset, so you want to sprint reset after every advantage hit you do basically. You can also strafe with all these different methods, which I'll cover in the next section. Different types of sprint resetting are useful in different scenarios, and there's no perfect way of sprint resetting. While running towards your opponent, after each hit, you want to release the W key and then quickly go back to pressing W. This will keep your opponent at a distance and give you a height advantage. All types of sprint resetting requires a lot of timing, and the only way to get better is to practice. I will cover this later in detail, but Hypixel has randomized KB, so you might want to hold W if the opponent is not too far away. Mostly used by Soup and German players, this is the same as W tapping, except you let go of W for longer to where the player is almost out of reach before hitting W again. This kind of looks like an S tap and only works on low ping. Block hitting is where you run towards the opponent without letting go of W and tap your right click after each hit, so you block with your sword. Don't spam block hit like it's 2016, because this instead gives your opponent the momentum advantage. If you're a beginner, I recommend you learn this or W tapping first, because they're the easiest to learn and implement. Possibly the sexiest combo of all time is S-tapping. To S-tap you want to start a combo, and after each hit you want to take your middle finger off the W key and tap the S key, then quickly go back to pressing W. This gives the most KB out of any sprint resetting method. This also works best in games with the Void like Bed Wars and Sky Wars, because the high amount of KB sends the players into the Void without a chance of fighting back. This method may also be useful for high ping and CPS players because of the less KB they take. There's also another way of S-tapping, which involves starting a combo, then tapping S with your pointer finger. This method is just a worse version of W tapping and S tapping because you can't strafe to one side, but it's a lot easier to do than S tapping, but it's still harder than normal W tapping. In order to jump combo, you want to jump right after you hit someone and W tap in the middle of the air. This combo is very hard to do, which gives you a crit, which is kind of awesome. You want to be able to see the particles. Some other sprint resetting methods include inventory tapping, crouch tapping. Crouching doesn't change your hitbox, by the way, and sprint tapping, control tapping. I have links in the description to learn more about these methods of sprint resetting, but they're generally worse compared to the other combos, so I won't be covering them here. Another interesting way to spice up your combos is by strafing. Some basic strafe patterns are pressing the A or D key the whole time while comboing them to make the opponent run out of mousepad space. Another basic strafe pattern is to alternate between A and D when comboing someone. A more advanced strafe pattern is to AD tap, which kind of looks cool and confuses your opponent. You also may not want to sprint while pressing W when S tapping, and strafe when you are performing the S tap in order to keep the opponents at a safe distance. I suggest trying out a ton of different strafing methods in order to find which one's the best for you. I'm not sure where this originated from, but I learned this from Rice Farmer 11. Basically, you want to strafe in the direction where your opponent isn't looking. If you're struggling with reading where your opponent is looking, then you can turn on the hitbox mod with the show vector setting enabled, and then setting the line color of the hitbox itself to invisible because it looks kind of ugly. This highly advanced technique is like an add-on to jump resetting. This was mostly a Hive server technique, can kind of be used in Hypixel. In order to perform a 7-tap, you want to trade hits until you're between the first and second trade. Then you want to press and hold the A, D, and W keys until the next hit. When you hit the opponent for the second time, you want to let go of the D and A keys, never letting go of W. If you do this correctly, it will reduce your knockback. You can combine this with the jump reset to reduce KB even more. You can also use a different form of 7-tapping where you tap A or D when W or S tapping when comboing someone. This method also reduces KB. Clicks per second are not the most important part of PvP, but it is important to understand how it works. The higher your CPS, the lower KB you have. The higher your CPS, the slower you move while clicking on a player. With an actual comfortable grip, you get around 6 to 8 CPS, which is pretty bad for games like sumo, boxing, and no debuff. It could actually be the best for games like Build UHC and Classic Duels, because CPS doesn't matter as much in those games, and also helps with aim. I learned how to jitter click from Intel Edits, and he may teach you better than me, so check out his video in the description. In order to jitter click, you want to hold your mouse like this. You want to tense your forearm until your arm starts shaking. You aren't even moving your fingers when you're jitter clicking. You can practice jitter clicking by doing it on the table first, then moving up to your mouse. You can also do push-ups before jitter clicking in order to warm up your forearm. You want to hold the mouse in a fingertip grip, and you can also hold down your pointer finger with a middle finger. This may be uncomfortable at first, and if it starts hurting, you should take a break. If you're committed to jitter clicking, then you should also have a smaller sensitivity. All of this effort will award you with arthritis. All of this effort will award you with 10 to 13 CPS. It may be uncomfortable to aim for a little bit, but with practice, this is the best clicking method. There are two different types of butterfly clicking, one where you go for double clicks and one where you go for single clicks. This is debatable about being better than jitter clicking because it gives you around the same CPS and it doesn't give you wrist problems. Double clicking can get you banned on some servers such as Mindman Club. Personally, my mouse doesn't double click, but if you have an old mouse, you may be able to. In order to butterfly click, you want to hold your mouse like this and click on each corner of your left click in order to get a double click on each click. This is different on each mouse, and if you change your mouse's debounce time, you can maybe get a double click on a newer mouse. This method gets around 15 to 21 CPS. I've heard that as long as you don't go above 15 CPS, you'll be fine to use this on Hypixel, but it isn't completely risk-free. Single click butterfly clicking is a lot easier than double clicking and won't get you banned. You want to hold your mouse like this. Unlike double clicking, it doesn't matter where you click on your mouse, making it more comfortable. This is the clicking method I use most of the time. Drag clicking isn't really used for PvP, but can be used to get crazy extensions, telebridge, and godbridge, which can give you an advantage in bridge duels and bed wars. In order to drag click, your mouse has to double click. Practice dragging your finger on your desk until it stutters like this. Once you can do this, practice doing this on your mouse until it gives you 20 to 70 CPS. I can't double click myself, and this clicking method is mostly just used for flexing your bridge skills, so I don't really recommend it. Starting out, I struggled a lot with aiming while butterfly clicking and jitter clicking. You can go all out and train in AimLab or Kovac with your butterfly or jitter grip, but aim training is kind of boring. The funnest way I personally use to develop my aim is to play a lot of no debuff, OP duels, or anything with speed 2. Speed 2 is a lot higher pace than normal duels, and after playing with speed 2, playing with normal speed will feel a lot better. A small custom crosshair also will help you to get more accurate when playing. Hypixel's KB is randomized in order to give newer players a chance, make the game more fun, and heighten the skill cap. Hypixel is the biggest Java Minecraft server, so it's important to understand how this works. While sprint resetting, you can decide to keep pressing W or sprint reset. This depends on how far the player is away and how much KB they are taking, and it takes a long time to get used to, but can be overcome. With all this information, improvement will not come automatically. This section is dedicated to how to practice. If you're brand new to the game, go to the server pvp.land and duel their bots until you understand the basics. Minecraft wasn't meant to be a PvP game, but accidentally created one of the best PvP experiences. Once you feel comfortable on PvP land against the medium or hard bots, you will level up to Mindman.club. Some of the best modes on Mindman Club are no debuff, build UHC, and boxing. The best players on this game are constantly playing Mindman Club, and it is by far the best way to improve. You may get stomped for the first couple of games, but even just warming up by playing 3 games and going on a Hypixel will give you a huge improvement over time. Improvement takes a long time and will take months or years before you become a good player. If you want to train movement specifically, you can use the server bedwarspractice.club. Training on Bed Wars Practice and even on a parkour server is a very underrated way to improve in Minecraft. Minecraft PvP is all about movement and understanding how to move your character. Some parkour servers include me.parkourcraft.com, and the housing section of Hypixel always has some sort of parkour. Improvement happens over a long time, so make sure to play consistently and rewatch this video and other videos like this one if you feel like you're hitting a wall with improvement. Here's some things I forgot to mention or didn't fit into other sections. Flint and steel can be used to set your opponent on fire, which does damage over time. The trick to flint and steel is to predict where your opponent is going and then place the fire where they think they will be. Ender pearls can be used to surprise your opponent, and they will have to do a massive flick to get onto you, basically giving you a combo. There are some other clicking methods such as jitter butterfly clicking, the most notable one, but I personally haven't learned any more, so I'm not qualified to talk about it. You can also break away from a combo by ender pearling, pressing S, jumping, or turning around and running away. These are kind of frowned upon, but who really cares? I hope this video helped you. I spent a really long time making this video, so I would appreciate it if you liked, subscribed, and follow me on Blue Sky. If you liked this video, you may also like my SMP series linked here. Thanks for watching.